Have you ever found yourself fighting against your own mind, feeling as though parts of you are conspiring against your goals? This sensation of self-sabotage is something many people experience. According to renowned psychologist Carl Jung, it may be deeply connected to what he calls the shadow. But what exactly is this shadow, and why does it exert such a profound influence on our lives? Jung explains that the shadow consists of the aspects of ourselves that we reject or repress, often because we deem them unacceptable, shameful, or inadequate. These elements remain buried in the unconscious, yet they influence our thoughts, emotions, and actions like an underground current. The shadow is part of all of us, and ignoring it can lead to internal conflicts, impulsive behaviors, and a persistent sense of dissatisfaction. Imagine for a moment that you are in a boat adrift at sea. You try to row forward, but something invisible holds you back. That something is your shadow. It acts as a silent force that prevents us from moving ahead, and as long as we continue to ignore its presence, it holds power over us. But here's the good news: integrating your shadow not only reduces this internal friction but also provides profound and lasting peace. Accepting these repressed aspects of yourself is an act of courage that brings you closer to your most authentic self. This doesn't mean you'll be perfect or immune to mistakes, but it does mean you'll have a more complete understanding of who you are. In this video, we'll explore how to recognize, understand, and most importantly, integrate your shadow. We'll delve into Jungian psychology, incorporating theoretical insights and practical examples to demonstrate how this process can transform your life. If you're ready to overcome self-sabotage and reconcile the hidden parts of your personality, you're in the right place. Now, let's begin by understanding what the shadow really is and why it plays such a crucial role in your journey of self-discovery. What is the shadow? To understand the shadow, we must first acknowledge that it is an inevitable part of who we are. Carl Jung described the shadow as the dark side of the personality, not necessarily in a negative sense, but as the parts of ourselves that remain hidden and unseen. These repressed aspects can include traits like anger, envy, or selfishness, but also talents, passions, or desires that we suppress out of fear or shame. The formation of the shadow begins early in life when we learn what is considered acceptable or unacceptable in society and in relationships. For example, a child who expresses anger and is punished for it may begin to suppress that emotion, learning that it is wrong. Over time, this anger doesn't disappear, it is merely buried in the unconscious, becoming part of the shadow. A practical example can help clarify this concept. Imagine someone who always avoids conflict. Beneath this behavior, there may be a shadow full of repressed anger accumulated over the years. This person might explode unexpectedly in certain situations or project their own aggressiveness onto others, judging them as angry or hostile. This is the mechanism of projection, assigning to others the traits within ourselves that we prefer not to confront. It's important to note that the shadow isn't limited to negative aspects. Positive qualities are sometimes repressed as well. Perhaps you grew up hearing that it's not good to stand out, leading you to hide your brilliance or creativity. That too becomes part of the shadow. Recognizing the shadow's existence requires honesty with oneself. It's not easy to admit that there are parts of us we'd rather deny, but this is the first step toward freeing ourselves from its influence. When we ignore the shadow, it gains power over us. When we recognize it, we begin to take control. Now that we have a clearer view of what the shadow is, let's explore how it manifests in your daily life, often in subtle but profound ways. How the shadow affects your life. When left unacknowledged, the shadow wields powerful influence over our lives. It acts as an invisible force, shaping our thoughts, behaviors, and decisions in ways that often surprise or frustrate us. One of the most common effects of an unintegrated shadow is self-sabotage, situations where we unknowingly act against our own best interests. For instance, have you ever found yourself repeating harmful patterns, even when you know they hinder your progress? Perhaps it's the end of a promising relationship caused by sudden bursts of anger, or procrastination on an important project due to a fear of failure. These behaviors don't arise from nowhere. They're often driven by repressed aspects of the shadow. That anger you suppressed as a child may now emerge uncontrollably, or a hidden perfectionism may prevent you from taking action. Another significant way the shadow impacts us is through projection, attributing to others the traits we refuse to acknowledge in ourselves. For example, someone who cannot accept their own ambition might criticize colleagues who pursue success, labeling them as greedy. This projection not only distorts our relationships but also blocks us from addressing the very issues we need to work on. Moreover, the shadow can affect your mental and emotional health. Internal conflicts, anxiety, and even depression may signal that repressed aspects of your personality are demanding attention. Ignoring these signs can create a cycle of suffering, where you feel stuck without understanding why. However, recognizing how the shadow affects your life opens a golden opportunity for transformation. Facing these hidden aspects may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's the pathway to greater clarity and self-awareness. The importance of integrating the shadow. Integrating the shadow is essential for anyone seeking personal growth and authenticity. Without this integration, we remain trapped in patterns of self-sabotage and internal conflict. However, when we choose to acknowledge and understand the repressed parts of ourselves, we open the door to profound transformation. Carl Jung described shadow integration as a key part of individuation, the process of becoming a whole and authentic person. Individuation is like assembling a puzzle of the soul. Every piece matters, even those we'd prefer to ignore. Jung believed that inner balance could only be achieved when we learn to engage with the shadow, recognizing it as a legitimate part of ourselves. The benefits of shadow integration are vast. First and foremost, it reduces internal conflicts, which often drain our energy and cause distress. When we accept our shadow, we stop fighting against ourselves. For example, someone who acknowledges and accepts their anger can learn to express it healthily, rather than suppressing it or letting it erupt in harmful ways. Another major benefit is the improvement of relationships. When we stop projecting our repressed traits onto others, we interact more genuinely and empathetically. Take, for example, individuals who criticize others for traits they secretly dislike in themselves. By integrating their shadow, they can change this dynamic, fostering more honest and meaningful connections. Additionally, shadow integration enhances self-awareness. It helps us understand our motivations, desires, and limitations more clearly. This clarity empowers us to make choices aligned with our true selves, rather than being unconsciously driven by repressed forces. As Jung famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." A fictional example illustrates this transformation. Lucas, a professional who avoided leadership roles out of fear of being perceived as arrogant, discovered through self-reflection that he had repressed his ambition. Growing up, he had internalized the belief that ambition was negative. By accepting that ambition is a natural and positive part of his personality, Lucas gained confidence, took on leadership opportunities, and achieved recognition. This transformation didn't make him someone new, it made him more complete. Ultimately, integrating the shadow isn't about eliminating the traits we perceive as negative. It's about accepting them and learning to coexist with them in a healthy way. It's a lifelong process, but the rewards, inner peace, authenticity, and greater balance make every effort worthwhile. Now that we understand the importance of integrating the shadow, it's time to explore how to put this into practice. Practical steps to integrate the shadow. Integrating the shadow can be challenging, but it is an incredibly rewarding process. It requires the courage to face the parts of yourself you might prefer to avoid, but it also offers clarity, inner peace, and a renewed sense of wholeness. Here are 5 practical steps to help you begin this journey. Acknowledge your shadow. The first step is becoming aware of your shadow. It often reveals itself during moments of discomfort, or in behaviors you can't easily explain. Start by observing your emotional reactions and ask questions like, why did this situation make me so angry? Why do I avoid certain people or conversations? Keeping a journal can be a valuable tool. Write about instances where you felt shame, anger, or guilt, or moments when you notice yourself projecting something onto others. Writing helps bring unconscious patterns into the light. Identify patterns and triggers. Once you start identifying aspects of your shadow, the next step is to observe patterns. Ask yourself, what situations or people tend to trigger these emotions? Is there a recurring pattern in how I react to these circumstances? For example, if you consistently feel envious of confident people, this may indicate that you are suppressing your own desire to express yourself freely. Recognizing these triggers allows you to take control of your responses rather than reacting impulsively. Work with your dreams. Jung believed that dreams are a direct pathway to the unconscious, where the shadow resides. Pay attention to recurring symbols or themes in your dreams. Keep a notebook by your bed to jot down anything you remember upon waking. Ask yourself, what might these symbols be trying to tell me? How does this relate to what I'm experiencing in my waking life? For instance, dreaming of a wild animal might symbolize repressed anger or aggression. By interpreting these dreams, you can bring hidden elements of your shadow to the surface. Engage in dialogue with your shadow. A powerful technique for integrating the shadow is to establish an internal dialogue. This can be done through visualization or writing. Imagine having a conversation with the part of yourself that suppresses uncomfortable emotions or behaviors. Ask questions like, "What do you want me to know? Why do you behave this way? How can I embrace you without letting you harm me?" This practice allows you to understand the underlying reasons for your actions and emotions. For example, by engaging with the part of yourself that feels anger, you may discover it's trying to protect you from feeling vulnerable. Seek professional support. While many aspects of the shadow can be explored independently, working with a therapist can accelerate and deepen the process. A professional, particularly one trained in Jungian psychology, can help you identify unconscious patterns, interpret symbols, and create strategies for addressing the most challenging aspects of your shadow. Therapy provides a safe space to explore feelings and experiences that may be painful or confusing. It also helps prevent self-judgment, offering a balanced and compassionate perspective. Practice self-compassion. Remember, integrating your shadow isn't about judging or changing who you are, it's about accepting all parts of yourself. Be kind to yourself as you confront difficult aspects. Embrace vulnerability. Recognizing your weaknesses or fears may feel uncomfortable, but it's also an act of courage. Be patient. Shadow integration is a continuous process. Don't expect instant results. Celebrate every small step forward. By following these steps, you'll begin to build a healthier relationship with your shadow. Over time, what once seemed like a destructive force will become a source of strength and wisdom. Integrating the shadow is a deeply personal process, but hearing stories of transformation can provide inspiration and practical insights. Here, we explore examples that highlight the positive impact of shadow integration. The journey of Lucas. Lucas avoided leadership roles, believing ambition was a flaw. After reflecting on his shadow, he discovered that ambition was a repressed strength. Accepting this part of himself allowed Lucas to lead projects and find fulfillment at work. Carl Jung's confrontation with his shadow. Jung himself faced his shadow during a period of introspection after breaking away from Sigmund Freud. Through dream analysis and journaling, he transformed his shadow into a wellspring of creativity, contributing to much of his groundbreaking work. Integrating the shadow is more than a psychological process, it is a journey toward accepting who you truly are. By recognizing and embracing the hidden aspects of your personality, you don't just gain more control over your life, you also draw closer to your most authentic self. As we've explored, the shadow is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a part of you seeking acknowledgement and understanding. Ignoring it amplifies its influence over your emotions and behaviors, but accepting it allows you to transform internal conflicts into opportunities for growth. The benefits of shadow integration are profound. It reduces self-sabotage, improves relationships, and fosters greater self-awareness. More importantly, it paves the way to individuation, the state of being whole and aligned with yourself. To begin this journey, remember that small steps make a difference. Reflect on your emotions, document your thoughts, and seek support when needed. Every effort counts, no matter how small it seems. As Carl Jung wisely said, "The acceptance of oneself is the essence of the whole moral problem and the epitome of a whole outlook on life." The true encounter with yourself begins here, and the transformation you seek is closer than you think. Embrace your shadow. Peace and authenticity await. Remember, true inner peace arises when you accept and embrace every part of who you are.